Joel Michael Guy Jr. was accused of murdering and dismembering his parents in 2016. It is alleged that he killed his parents after they told him they will no longer pay his bills. Joel Guy Jr. had given the judge permission to impose the death penalty if he was found guilty. The state did not pursue the death penalty. To state your name for the record, please. Robin White, are you related to Joel Guy Sr.'s? He's my brother and is the defendant your nephew. Yes. And did you know Lisa Guy also? Yes, she was like my sister. All right. I want to direct your attention to the time period around Thanksgiving, just before Thanksgiving of 2016, and ask you if your brother made any statements to you about his future plans regarding the support of his son. Joel Manet, my brother, had stated to me that he was retiring and moving up, and he had cut his son off from any money, anything. He was tired of keeping him up, and Lisa was fixing the move in the family home, and Lisa was fixing to cut him off. And when come to Christmas, when he was supposed to come in, but he came in for Thanksgiving instead. Okay, state your name for the record, please. Michelle Tyler. And I'm sorry I've been calling you Dennison, but that's and are you Joel Sr.'s daughter? Yes, ma'am. And the defendant's half-sister? Yes, ma'am. In the time shortly before their deaths, in November 2016, did your father make any sticks to you about his intention for him and Lisa to stop providing financial support? For the defendant, yes, ma'am. Did Lisa make statements like, "This on October the 28th, my youngest birthday"? Lisa and Dad did on Thanksgiving? Dad did? Okay, and let's talk about that October statement first. Tell us what Lisa said. They had both said, but Lisa said that Joel Michael was going to have to find a job because they only had a certain amount of money, the retirement. They had taken out his pension, and I'm not sure if that's the name of it, but they only had a certain amount to live on, and they would not be able to afford Jill Michael or paying for his apartment. Okay, things like that. And on Thanksgiving, what did your dad say to you? There was a little bit of tension, and so when everyone was inside and it was just, I'm sorry, yes, it was just me and Dad and myself. That was a bad grammar. It was just me and Dad. We were out on the porch, and he said that Lisa hadn't told Jill Michael and that you could feel like that. That was what was causing the little bit of tension inside the house. That you could feel the tension. Did he say anything specifically about them withdrawing financial support from your brother? That's what he said. He had told that he had told you about that they had told Jill Michael about him having to get a job or being cut off. But he didn't. I can't remember his Craig Burbage, but it wasn't cut off. It's that they couldn't afford to support him anyone. Thank you. Stitch your name for the record, please. Jennifer Whiten. Where do you work out as Whiten? I work at Jacobs. What is your position there? I'm the federal contracts manager. Did you know Lisa Guy? At the end, how did you know her? She was one of my employees. I want to direct your attention to Monday, November 28th, and ask you what happened that day. Well, Lisa, her work schedule started at 7 a.m., and I noticed at about 7:15 that she was not in my office. And I normally gave my employees about 15 minutes to get there, and, more out of being concerned that they were okay, I would start calling. So 7:15 came, and she wasn't there. Nobody in her group had heard from her, so I began texting her, and she didn't text back, and I thought that was wholly unusual, so I continued to text her. I continued to Jill Sr. called and never did get an answer, and that had been unlike her to not show up for work. And absolutely, if she couldn't make it to work, she would have called me immediately. And do you understand you to say that you also attempted to call her husband? I did. All right. And how many times would you say you called or texted? I lost track of how many times that I kept doing it, thinking this time they're going to answer I would say at least 20, at least. And then what did you decide to do? I wanted to call the police to have a welfare check done, so I called the police. On Monday, November 2050, at 9:38 am, he am the offset of negative 300 minute, agent 4, extension if 203, communication. And yes, I have an employee that has not reported for work today, and Holly am liked her. I've tried calling her home number. I've called cell phone and can't get a hold of her. What can we do about that? Can somebody go by and check on them? What's the employee's name? Lisa Guy? G-U-Y? Her husband's name is Joel, Joel. Should he be there too? Did you live with her? Yes, he does. Okay, I know that the house is ISO, and they are moving, and she is leading our company. But that's supposed to be Friday, and this definitely isn't like her. It's not to show up. I often call over to offer time, sling by, and check on her. After that, did you make a second call? And can you tell the jurors about that? I had realized that nobody had called me. Still could not get a hold of Lisa or Joel. So I called back to see what they had found with the welfare check, and I was told that everything seemed to be fine, that nothing looked out of the place, and so they didn't do anything further. I asked them to please go back, because I knew that something was not right. She had plans with other co-workers today or that day, and that she would not have cancelled or just blown them off. She would have at least called. So I asked them to go back. Tell us your name, sir. Stephen Bauer, and by whom he employed Knox County Sheriff's Office, in what capacity? I'll work in the Major Crowns Unit. I want to talk about the year 2016. Were you so employed in that year, sir? Yes, sir. And what was your assignment? On November the 28th, 2016. I was a patrol canine officer in what region of Knox County were you charged with patrolling West Knoxville? And does that include Golden View Lane? Yes, sir. Now I want to ask you about that day, sir. Did you have cause to respond to 11-4 to 3-4 Golden View Lane here in Knox County? Yes, sir. And what was the basis of you responding to that residence? It was to do a welfare check on Lisa God. Okay. And did you, in fact, go to that residence? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Let you back up little. Where did you go after your first response? After you left the residence, I went about my daily duties. And do you recall the lapse of time between the first visit and second? I'll say approximately an hour to 2 hours, okay? And what was the cause to go back a second time? I had spoke with to take the McCord over the phone. We were discussing our robbery that had taken on Level Road. I believe the business was the subway. We briefly spoke about that. Detective McCord asked me what I had found when I went out to the Guy residence. I explained to him that the inside for your light was on. There were vehicles in the driveway, but I got no response at the door. At that point, Detective McCord told me that he had a little more information, and I asked if I would go back out to the residence with him. Okay. And did you in fact go back with Detective McCord? Yes, sir. Did you go to the back of the residence at any point? I believe at that point Sergeant Gresham was on the front porch, and he had pointed out on inside the residence some groceries. You could see if you put your face up to the actual window, you could see groceries sitting the inside in the foyer. So, myself, Detective McCord, we go around the left side of the house. If you're facing the front of the house, we climb the fence, get into the backyard. We go up onto the porch area. As soon as you get up in front of the door, we notice the doorknob. One of the doorknobs was missing, and Detective M.C. Cord had knelt down to look through that doorknob. Okay, when you say it, doorknob's missing. Could you physically see into the residence? Through the knob, through the doorknob hole? Yes. So where the knob should be? Yes, sir. Okay. And based on that, did you have cause to investigate further? Yes, sir. At some point, the garage door opens, and we enter the residence. And when you say the garage door opens, is that as a result of law enforcement opening? That garage door, I believe so, yes, sir. And I want to ask you, sir, are you equipped with a body camera? Yes, sir, on this date, November 28, 2016. Yes, sir. Oh, Chairfather, don't ship. Logan, I heard a dog our talent. Doc carry share, propum hammer police. M believe a border chair, brother H Doc carry riffer. Chair office. MHM, yes, sir. Come on, forget me. I gotta get out here. I got, sir. Cool, clear. Don't killing care. Hop it back, I am. That's blood, right? Blood, how much? Like yeah, I'm on host. Don't for care of it. We're gonna check you. Why there? MHM. I've got a camp of it. Goddamn, I got one down here, said I'm going right there. And that's where I noticed the hands at the end of the hallway. That this urn square. Hold up. Oh, good, Germany, back down. We got, sir, good. Oh, got you. Here? Get outs for do again? Yeah? I think so, that's what I say. That's what's hands? Get out of players did blow it all over to you. Want to can't back down. My name is Officer Sandy Campbell, by whom he employed Knox, kind of sheriff's office. In what capacity I'm currently assigned to the Forensic Services Unit, and how long you've been employed at the Sheriff's Department. Almost 9 years, and has in the course of your 9 years, of course your employment, have you exclusively been in the Forensic Unit? No, I've been in the Forensic Unit for almost 7, okay, and tell us what, if any, training you've received as it has to do with forensics. I particularly processing crime scenes. Probably the most comprehensive training that I've received is attendance at the National Forensics Academy, which is a 10-week course recognized kind of worldwide as the standard, the gold standard of forensic services technician training. What are the types of things that you're doing on a crime scene in terms of physical evidence? So specifically, my job consists of documenting, collecting, and preserving any sort of physical evidence that we find on the scene. And when you say processing and documenting, do you do that through the use of video? Yes, video, and just a digital camera as well, photographs. And did you do a crime scene video in this case? So this is approaching through the garage into a sort of eating kitchen area. So table in the eating kitchen, random items in the kitchen floor, and then this is the kitchen proper. So it's important to note here that the stovetop is on. So this is continuing kind of to the other side of the kitchen counter and then on into the formal dining room area of the residence. So this is, I'm stepping into the foyer of the residence. This is the front door and it faces the street. And here I'm noting that the heating unit for the house, for the downstairs of the house is set to 90 degrees and it was very, very warm in there. And that's the front door and some miscellaneous groceries that are sitting in the floor. So there's some reddish-brown staining right here. And we refer to things that we believe to be blood as reddish-brown staining for in forensics before they're tested and confirmed by a lab to be blood. So if you hear us refer to RBS or reddish-brown staining, that's what that is. So there's more RBS down the side of the wall. And here at this gate and on the banister as well. And this is going into the master bathroom. So what you're seeing here is plastic sheeting that's on the ground and 2 large rubber-made type tubs. And this is a shower with a hose attached to the top attachment. The shower head has been removed and a hose has been put there instead, like a garden hose type of thing. So this is a set of, like, dishwashing gloves that have turned inside out on the counter there. And this is the rest of the hose. And we're going into the guest bedroom. This is a dresser contains like a box of bullets. There, box of gloves that's been opened, a container of hydrogen parus. It's food-grade hydrogen peroxide with some reddish-brown staining on it. Here on the other side of the bed is a backpack, and moving towards the bed, there's some reddish-brown staining on the bed, and a laptop computer. It's a pile of clothes and towel and floor, right here in the corner. What we're trying to show is that there's a pile of looks like used medical tape and bandage type stuff. So there's a lot of stuff on top of the vanity and a lot of reddish brown staining. And this is back to the room above the garage. Looks like it's set up as a exercise room / possible guest room. This is a large amount of reddish brown staining, and right back here at where this overturned Bowflex is, until we get back to it. Right here was a set of what appeared to be male human hands that was severed from any other part of. They were just the hands. And you also ask you to document the physical clothing that was taken from the residence of Anyway. Yes, so the piles of clothing that we had to really kind of stick everything in one. Yes, I did photograph that. And it's in a separate manner in the forensics lab here. And how the terms of Dern, what you had to do to kind of make it a piece of clothing, if you will, or make sense of how it was left. So you remember in the description, the clothing was all described as cut in one way or another. So we typically speaking, when I'm going to photograph something like that, that has been cut. I want to kind of put it back together and then show the lines of where it's been cut. In a way that I do that is with orange evidence placards go underneath the cuts, so that when everything is put back together, you can see where it was cut and how it used to be whole. So this is a pair of women's jeans, and they're cut from the top all the way to the bottom on the back aspect of the jeans. This is a woman's tank top that has been also cut and has multiple cuts all within the back aspect. This is just kind of a closer up picture of the different kinds of cuts. This is another part of it, showing it kind of open. That's how I know it's the back. So this is the rear aspect of the sweater. And what I'm trying to do here is kind of piece it together the best that I can to show that it has not only been cut, but then also has like holes in it as well. So this is a pair of men's jeans. And I'm not sure if you can see, like right in here and right in here, and also right in here are places where they've been, where there's cuts on them. State your name for the record, please. Officer Rachel Sandlin, in November of 2016. Were you working for the sheriff's office? Yes, I was. And were you assigned to the forensics unit? Yes, I was. And did you work the scene of the Guy homicides? Yes, I did. Can you briefly describe what you did in response to your call there? I was one of the original responding forensic officers. I photographed several items in the scene, several of the scene throughout. Sorry to get that. Okay, the entirety of the scene. Photograph the entirety of the scene, as well as several items of evidence throughout. Assisted in collecting those items of evidence. Again, these are things that you photographed on November the 30th of 2016. Is that correct? Yes, inside the forensic lab. So can you tell us what is depicted in Exhibit 560? 2, it's a maroon backpack. I would have to find the exact item number. I'm there. But just an overall view of that maroon backpack before any contents are photographed or removed. Again, another overall view of the items within the larger pocket of the backpack. Okay, turn that around. These would be the items in the large pocket of the backpack, laid out for display since there once you open it. There were multiple books and things, so everything from the well and the calculator from the front pocket, everything from the backpack laid out, and an overall of you to see the contents. So that picture depicts the contents of the backpack. Correct. Close-up of the notebook from the backpack. A content page of the notebook from the backpack. Okay, can you increase the size on this, please? And you've got a screen. Would you read from your screen, please? What is depicted on this page of the photograph you took? Yes. Get killing knives quick. Multiple. Get carving quick. Qui, is that a C or is it an E? Quiet. Yes, it could be yes. I'm sorry, it appears to be a net. Yes. Multiple. Get carving knives to make small pieces. Get sledgehammer, crush bones, bring blender and food grinder, grind meat, keep going, get bleached to nature proteins. Get plastic bin for denaturation process. Keep going. Does not matter where they're killed. Just get rid of bloody spots to prevent evidence of time of death. Not the mattress or the couches. Get rid of bodies inside house there and my DNA already there. And then there's a part that's scratched out. Open up doggy door to provide entryway. Can you make up them? It appears he needs to be, and I can't make all that word not intruder. Next line, flush chunks down toilet, not garbage disposal. Get plastic sheeting for disposal process, and then depart, that's crossed out. Get hollow point bullets just in case we'll be seen buying bullets. Just use computer room gun check to make sure there are bullets. Last resort. He's not alive to claim her half of the insurance money, and then an arrow all mine, 500,000 flood. The house covers forensic evidence. Turn a heater up as high as it goes. Speeds, decomposition. Bleach reacts with luminol just like blood. Douse area with bleach, big sprayer, light trash compactor. Body gives time of death and an arrow alibi. Don't have to get rid of body if there is no forensic evidence on the body. His fingerprints and DNA okay. Next photograph would be 581, Exhibit 581. And if we could enlarge that and just read from the top, please, yes. Minimize things I touched throughout visit. Wear gloves and socks to prevent fingerprints and footprints. Drop something down the garbage disposal to break it. Get him on the ground fixing it. Kill him with the knife. Clean up mess from him before she gets home. Kill her with knife. There's a part this crosstown. Kill dog after. And then leave alive. Can't read or you're able to zoom in there? Okay? And it appears to be fingerprints. And then take dog with you. I can't read the first word him with him is in parentheses. Place her in shower. And then with dog appears to be crossed out. Turn on hot water and point at her to get rid of forensics. Remove her clothes and take them with me for disposal. Place him in plastic bin and use it to get him into the upstairs bathroom. Cut off his arm and plant his flesh under her fingernails. Place her hand with his DNA so that his DNA is not washed away by the shower. Use sodium hydroxide to destroy his soft tissue and soften bones for transport, based once every hour to accelerate. Flush sodium hydroxide down the toilet. Wash out bend with handheld shower head, and then direct handheld into toilet to flush everything out of the pipes and into the public waterway. Douse killing rooms, kitchen with bleach. Place hair color with flammable paper and flammable containers of gasoline in 4 locations. His killing room, her killing room, his bathroom, her bathroom. Wipe down areas near killing rooms and bathrooms. Turn heaters up to 90 degrees to melt fingerprints and dry everything. Set her phone to send me a text message late Sunday to prove that I was in BR and she was alive. In quotation marks, leave. And I can't read the words, it's marked out. Through front door and wipe down doorknobs. Timer for flammables set for Friday at 10 a.m. Sunlight masks fire but not smoke everyone at work, so they can't report it. I'm going to show you photograph 582 and ask you to. Next time, you can enlarge that. Read what is depicted on in this photograph. Ultraviolet light shows fingerprints. Check mail before leaving to get rid of blood. Use peroxide, and there's an arrow, hemoglobin pointed at peroxide and bleach, and then an arrow, DNA, pointing at bleach. Okay, it got Rep 583. It appears to be titled Destruction of Bodies, and then Composition of Body, 20% fat, 20% protein, 55% water, and 5% other compounds, 584. It appears to be titled Assets, her life insurance, 500,000, possibly more, with double indemnity with him missing/dead. I get the whole thing. All her other assets are joint to him, if missing, unknown. If he is dead, his assets includes all joint property, if missing. When he gets all joint property, also gets joint debt. Knoxville House homeowners insurance possibly, but probably worthless after fire, 100,000. The Segowensville house opposed at 400,000 plus worthless with Renee on property. Excuse me. Her car, his SUV, and that seems to be bracketed. Not paid for his boat, his old truck, and that seems to be bracketed with paid for his 401k 80,000. Possibly less after zoom in on that word. Thanks, Oman. Could it be taxes? It very well could be. Yes. In the next line, he could possibly have savings and or investment accounts. Teus. Your name, sir? Jeremy McCord. And by whom he employed the Knott's Coming Sheriff's Office. And were you so employed in November of 2016? Yes, sir. And if you will, how long you have been in the sheriff's apartment? Since September 10th, 2007. Okay. And how did you become involved in this case? Sir? I'm the lead investigator on the case, sir. Detective, you understand you are still under oath, sir. Yes, sir. All right. You may resume your direct examination. Thank you. We left off about looking into 2 Walmart receipts that you received from the residence at 11-4 to 34 Golden View. Lane 1 for a transaction with Lisa Guy at 12:18, in 1 for a transaction with an unidentified male at this point. At 3:35 p.m., is that correct? Correct. And have you had a chance to review those videos prior testifying today? Yes? Yeah? What are you look the most? I couldn't hear you, sir. Yes, sir. It is that the same? Individual who make the transaction of Christmas at 3:35 p.m. Aye, it is, sir, and who was later identified as Joel God Jr. And what is the individual who's later J? Unfortunate videos. He's going through the pharmacy. The sections label pharmacy, pain and nicotine section for their camera purpose is, and he's in the first aid section. And yes, hinder the candles. He's using cash there. And that appears to that is him makes it in the store with the 1 bag in a buggy. This is a footage from the Walmart parking lot, and you'll be able to observe the defendant's vehicle with the Louisiana registration on the back of it. Drive-through. That does capture it. Yes. From that image, we were able to obtain the plate. And he pays with cash. And he used the hand scanner to scan the totes with the receipt and the toads and got his change. And he'll exit. Oh, yeah, here's the screen on. Yes, sir. MHM. Tell us what he do removes the bag that he had placed inside the toes. In the car, comes back and forth. Then he actually pulls another tote, basically the same type tote out, puts it in that tote he just bought, and then he puts both back in the car. I'm going to put the tops in. Would you please introduce yourself to the jury? Sure. My name is Dr. Amy Hawes, W-E-S. And where are you employed? I'm currently employed as the Deputy State Medical Examiner for the Tennessee Office of the State Chief Medical Examiner. By trade, I'm a forensic pathologist, and a forensic pathologist is a doctor who is specially trained to investigate how and why people die. My official appointment as a medical examiner is the title that's given to me through the authority through the state law that appoints every county in Tennessee with a medical examiner and an assistant medical examiner if needed. So again, my specialty of medicine is forensic pathology. And at this time, you're in a please, I would ask, that we are tendering Dr. Amy Hawes as an expert in the area of forensic pathology. Recognize Dr. Hallis is an expert in the area of forensic pathology. Once again, that allows her to render her opinion within her area of expertise. Also, once again, just because an expert witness renders their opinion does not mean that you are bound to accept it. It's your job to judge and wait incredibly to be given her testimony, just like every other witness. But she is an expert and may render her opinion. Thank you, Dr. Hawes. Are you here today to testify as to the cause and manner of death of Joel Guy and Lisa Guy? Yes. So, if you would just please discuss the contents of your report and your findings with respect to Mr. Guy. Sure so. Again, the autopsy is an examination of the outside of the inside of the body. And the first thing to note with Mr. Guy is his remains have been dismembered. The arms had been removed at the shoulders, the legs had been removed at the hips. His head was completely skeletonized, and there was some area of defect of the bone of the forehead. The bone in that area was in such poor condition that it was impossible to tell whether that was from the chemicals in which the skull had been or whether it was from blunt trauma. There was skin remaining primarily on the back of Mr. Guy, approximately from his lower neck around his buttocks, and the remainder of the skin was gone. The remainder of the skin had been dissolved by chemicals, and with the skin being gone, it basically exposed bare muscle in some of the subcutaneous tissue, so the remains were in a very complex and difficult state to examine it to describe. So, like Mr. Guy, Mrs. Guy was also dismembered. There was some differences in the degree to what she had dismembered in the way she was dismembered. Her head was completely severed from her body. Her arms were disarticulated at the shoulders, and her legs were disarticulated at the knees. So, in comparison to Mr. Guy, who had his legs disarticulated at the hips, Mrs. Guy's legs were at the knees, so her thighs were still intact. Her thighs were still attached onto her body, but her head was completely severed, and her arms were completely severed. Much like Mr. Guy, the skin of her back was still relatively well preserved compared to her front, where there was almost no skin left. Mrs. Guy's head was found in a large pot in liquid in the kitchen. And this photograph, what does it depict? This depicts the outside of the containers that held the body parts, and they are labeled with the case numbers for Mr. Guy and Mrs. Guy. Okay, is it possible that this knife was used to either inflict sharp force injury or disarticulate the victims in this case? It's possible. Next number. And with respect to this knife found in a different area of the house, is it possible that this knife inflicted the sharp force injuries? Some of them? Some or all of them? Either of the victims? Yes. Next number. And with respect to this knife, and let's go to the next one too, I think it depicts those two knives. Were they capable of inflicting sharp force injuries that you observed on the bodies of these victims? Yes. Could they have been used to disarticulate these victims? Yes, it's possible. Thank you very much, Doctor. Pause for your test for your appearance here today. Across the nomination. No question is Dr. Hall's at you. She says your name for the record, please. Murray Marks, Dr. Mark Square. Are you employed? At two places, the University of Tennessee Graduate School of Medicine and at the Regional Forensic Center in Knoxville. What is your occupation? I'm a forensic anthropologist. Recognized Dr. Marks as an expert in the area of forensic anthropology is removed, which you would be actually between the second and third circle there all, so it cuts to, again, the bottom of that second cervical vertebra. The damage to the atlas or the top cervix vertebra is associated with, again, movement of this fall. I'll ask you the same question. Do you believe that Just say a knife would work. Maybe even more than one knife could have inflicted these injuries. Yes, ma'am, including the disarticulation. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I think that's all that I have. Thank you very much, no question. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the state, has now rested its case in chief. That does not necessarily mean that you have heard all the evidence that will be presented. You decide this case. The defendant has no burden or proof in this case, but he is given an opportunity to present evidence through witnesses and exhibits if he wishes to do so. Counts 6 and 7, abuse of a corpse. The state has not admitted their burden that this was without legal privilege. They have not shown what the legal standards are, or that this was in violation of those. So we believe that they have not met their burden on count 6 and 7. Thank you, Sir General. Your response with respect to the abuse of corpse argument, I just, absolutely disagree with Mr. Halston's characterization of the state's proof on all right, thank you, as the abuse of corpse, showing whether or not there's a legal standard. The court will instruct the jury regarding the elements of the offense, UH. And I don't know that the state has to prove something that I think kind of comes with common sense, and that is a general member of the public cannot just dismember bodies in the community. UH. And so to me, that's not really an issue. But, Mr. Guy, what I want to do now is talk to you about to testify. I'm going to swear you in. You're going to remain seated there at the table. Your lawyer is going to ask you a few questions. Just make it clear on the record that you know this decision is completely yours. So if you please raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing about the truth? I be God all right, Charleston? Have you about yes? Have discussed the pros and cons of that? Have we given your opinion? Yes. Do you need time to think about your decision? Do you feel like you bring enough advice from us? Or your own things? Might surgery? And have you made the decision? And what is that, all right? And you do understand, if you wanted to, regardless of what your attorneys advise you, that you certainly could that decision completely yours. You understand that, Mr. Guy? And so it's your decision, after being informed and discussing this with your attorneys, to not testify in this case. That correct? All right? Thank you, sir, Mr. Halstead. With the defense, like to my composing argument, we believe the state has not proven any of these charges beyond a reasonable doubts. We ask that you find Mr. Guy not guilty. Thank you. Mr. Sanchez was right. He didn't finish. Okay. At some point he gave up. He ran out of steam. He ran out of energy. You heard Dr. Marks. It's hard. It's hard work to get rid of two human beings. It was hard to kill them. It wasn't easy. And it's much harder work to take them apart, to cut off their limbs, to transport them into whatever vessel you bring to dissolve them in. It's hard work to lug all those big, heavy products around, and especially when you're hurt. Because it wasn't so easy to kill dear old Dad. Daddy put up a fight, and the defendant got injured, and he basically wimped out. He gave up, he wimped out and left. She paid for all of this. Okay, so she was supporting him, and think about that. She paid for the drain cleaner she was dissolved in. She paid for the muriatic acid. She paid for the work lights that he thought he was going to need. She paid for the sledgehammer. She paid for the timers. She paid for the plastic sheeting. She paid for that garden hose. She paid for the small sprayer in the master bathroom. She paid for the big spray or the bleach sprayer that was left in the floor or the kitchen. She paid for those garbage bags. She paid for his socks. She paid for his red potato salad that he got when he was buying his medical supplies, because he worked up an appetite after all of that, and he was in the mood for some red potato salad. Think about that. Think about that. She paid for the tubs. But she and her husband disintegrated in. She worked all those years at Jacob Engineering to put him up, to keep him in his lifelong whatever program he's in at LSU. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? She was still looking for a job in Sir Gainesville. Do you remember Renee Charles telling you that she wasn't going to cut him off? She was going to find a job up there. She was going to keep supporting him. And the proof in this case isn't strong. It isn't anything other than overwhelming. And we ask you to consider everything in this case. And we ask you to convict him of premeditated murder, convict him of felony murder, and convict him of abusing the corpses of his mother and his father. Thank you, Joel Michael Guy and Dr. number 10145, after being tried by you peers and found guilty of all 7 counts. The court does enter those findings. I exercise my role as a 13th juror as well, and do find it the weight of the evidence supports the jury's findings. You can have a seat, announcer. All right, folks. By operational law, the court is required to pronounce the sentence in the first 3 murder counts. Joel Michael Guy and Doctor on 1 month here at 1/405 before it's already pronounced the life sentence in count number 1 for just going submerged count number 4 into that life sentence count number 2. The court has already entered a life sentence for Lisa Guy count 3 and 5 version of that. I'm going to order that count for 2-run consection account number 1 and count number 6. And me, some corpse, and Joel Guy, I sent you the maximum, sent some 2 years to run, sected the count number 2, and in count a 30% centigrade count number 7, and be subcorpse with Lisa Guy. It will be the maxim. Cents in 2 years and 30% consacting account number 6, so it's a total cent that's up. 2 licenses exactive with 4 years backed. On top of that, the NBC text